This is In the Black with T. Dallas Smith. Conversations with trailblazers, glass ceiling breakers, and champions for change who inspire and cultivate leaders every day.
All right. Today, I'm joined by my old friend, Richard Slaton. Richard is a legendary real estate and finance professional with a deep commitment to community development and affordable housing. As executive director of JPMorgan Chase Commercial Bank and a respected educator, he brings decades of experience, strategic insight, and a passion for mentoring the next generation of leaders. Welcome, Richard, to In the Black, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Dallas. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, man, I couldn't think of anybody better to do this with.
Well, I appreciate it.
I spent a lot of time with this guy. This is my golf buddy, by the way. So we've solved all the world's problems in the last 8 years.
Yeah.
So today we're just solving more problems. That's all we're going to do. I just want to start with kind of what inspired you to pursue a career in finance and real estate, and how did Morehouse College shape that journey?
I tell you, so it all began when I was about 12 years old. So I'm a native Atlantan, and my mother bought her first house when I was 12. And the real estate broker, his name is Ramsey Davis, helped her get the house. And he had a brown Cadillac Coupe de Ville. and I was impressed with that Cadillac Coupe de Ville. That kind of piqued my interest in real estate. So when I got to high school, his office, and I went to Brown High School. And so when I got to high school, his office was in the West End. So I used to literally walk to his office after school and just talk to him. And just, that's where I started learning real estate. So from the age of, call it 14 to 18, I was under his tutelage. So, he taught me how to, put up listing agreements, write sales contracts. He used to take me on, marketing calls with him and, meetings. And so I was exposed to that in high school. And so when I turned 18, that's when I was old enough to get a real estate license. I literally graduated from high school, partied all night, and went and took the real estate exam that next morning. and and passed it on the first try.
Yeah.
And so
at 18.
At 18. And so and honestly, I had no intention, man, of going to college, to be honest with you. My plan was to sell real estate. I wanted to be like Ramsey. But then my math teacher, her name is Ms. Mosley, I graduated with the highest math average in my class. And so she said, well, Richard, just go over there and, see if you like it. She said, just take a year, and if you don't like it, you can say you tried it. Now, on the other side of that, my father, he's a Morehouse alum. So he graduated from Morehouse with a degree in mathematics in 1972. So, so I ended up being third generation Morehouse alum. Wow. So when I got to Morehouse, I majored in computer science because that's what he wanted me to do, and I hated it. I just couldn't stand, being in front of a computer programming all day.
Wow.
And so I was just wandering around campus one day, and I found out we had a real estate department that was run by a guy named Alan Panado. Wow. And so it was housed at Morehouse initially, but then it eventually moved to Clark. But when I changed my major, I actually changed my major from computer science to finance, but I did take enough classes to get a minor in it. And so I met Dr. John Williams over there, and, I knew he was a real estate guy, and I told him I had a real estate license, and he looked at me like I was crazy and said, you still don't know anything. So anyway, I started taking the finance classes, and then I met Alan Panado. I took all the real estate courses. While I was in school, I was a Fannie Mae scholar. So I spent the summers in D.C. Working at what they call the cash window at Fannie Mae. So that's where I learned about mortgage-backed securities and all of that. So those experiences kind of piqued my interest. And I tell you something, my senior year in college, I was doing residential mortgages. I was a mortgage broker.
Oh,
and
wow.
So I was actually refinancing some of my professors' houses and all while I was in school.
Wow. That probably helped you with your grades too. Huh?
Right. I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. But the rest was history.
Yeah. So, it's obviously their mentorship has played a big role in your life.
Yeah.
And I think about Alan Panado, John Williams, Larry Gullistat, Lawrence
Yep.
Gullistat.
Yep. Absolutely.
Talk about just a little bit of each one. Kind of what did you learn from Larry that may have been a little different than John? What you learned from Alan?
So what I learned from John Williams was just straight pure finance. I mean, he taught me how to use it. He taught it to me. He taught me how to internalize it, and I could do finance in my sleep. That's what I learned from him. From Alan Panado, I learned the real estate side of it. I learned how to apply the finance skill to real estate. And Alan Panado actually taught me some I call it people skills or growing up skills. He introduced me to jazz music, for example. I used to go to his house and we sit down and talk, and and I tell you something funny.
Yeah.
My bottom teeth were crooked, right? In college. And
Okay.
so I was talking to Alan Panado one day. He said, "Richard," he said, "when are you gonna get your teeth fixed?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I say, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Listen," he said, "you're a smart guy, but nobody gonna listen to what you're saying because they're gonna be too busy looking at your crooked teeth." So those are kind of lessons that I got
Yeah.
from Alan Panado. So I went and got braces and all of that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna say Egbert Perry and Larry
Yeah.
Gullistat. Both those guys, man. I mean, they basically set my career in motion.
Wow.
And it was interesting how it happened. So I was actually in graduate school at the time, and I was working at Fulton County government. And this guy named Rod Teachy, he was working over there at Integral, and I met Rod when I was in college. So Rod called me one day and said, "Richard, I don't know what your situation is, but I'm looking for an assistant project director over here at Integral." So the job was supposed to be reporting to Rod.
Okay.
So I told him, I said, "Yeah, I'll come over there and interview." So I end up interviewing with both Larry and Egbert. And they were like, "Well, are you getting your MBA in finance?" I was like, "Yep." And they asked me that like 4 times during the course of the interview. I said, "Yes, I'm getting an MBA in finance." So long story short, I ended up going to work at Integral, but I never went to work for Rod Teachy. I ended up reporting directly to Larry and Egbert.
Oh, wow.
And so Larry used to literally put me in the car, man. And by this time, I'm maybe 28, something like
Wow.
that. Larry used to put me in the car every Friday and take me to construction sites and said, and that's where I learned construction.
Wow.
And the point of that, what he said to me, he said, "Richard, construction line item is the largest line item in the budget, the construction costs." He said, "I want you to know enough about construction that you can actually look at a proposal and value engineer building, and then you put that into your finance and run your models." That's what Larry taught me.
Wow.
And Egbert taught me how to build financial models from scratch. I used to sit down with Egbert. We used to be there on early Wednesday morning, man, and just running financial models.
Wow.
So I did that for 4 years, learning under both of them, and I'm eternally grateful to both of them.
Oh, man, 2 giants in the industry, period.
Yep.
So you learned from 2 of the best.
Yep.
I guess that would have been a pivotal moment, obviously, in your career to help
It
change
was.
kind of where you are now.
Mm-hmm.
What drew you to affordable housing? Well, how did that come about?
I learned it all at Integral. So I was on the development side. And so, I got a chance to see, putting together tax credit applications, both new markets and low income housing tax credit. So I had an interest in it, being exposed to it at Integral.
Out of all the things that you've done to date, what would you say has been the most rewarding project that you've worked on for you personally?
Man, that's a good question, because it's a lot of them, man.
There's
I
a lot of
mean,
yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of them. The old Big Bethel project that's actually not far from my house over here by where the old Southwest Hospital used to be.
Wow.
I drive past that every day on my way to work, and I see it, and it's rewarding to me.
Wow.
That project that Integral did on Auburn Avenue at the corner of where the Auburn and Piedmont, back then we called it Auburn Village. Had the ability, had the opportunity to work on that project. Had the opportunity to work on we called it Centennial Phase 5, which was the townhome development over there in Centennial. And I think a lot of the principals still live there
Live
still
there
to this
now.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are just a few, man, but it's a lot of them, man, that I
Oh, wow.
I was able to participate in, man, and learn from.
It's easy to say that you're driving around and you're seeing history.
Yeah.
That's one thing Herman Russell used to say, thing about real estate and development. You're going to build a building that obviously will outlast you. So
Yep.
the work that you've done years ago will outlast you. Maybe your kids, grandkids get a chance to see it and talk
Exactly.
about what Papa Slaton worked on.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, man. Help the audience understand how you continue to grow personally and professionally.
Same thing I tell my students at Morehouse. Be a habitual student. In other words, always be open-minded and willing to learn. Because, my philosophy is the minute you think you know everything, that's when it's time for you to go.
That's a fact.
Because nobody knows it all.
That's right.
And always be humble enough to accept constructive criticism. I don't care how senior you get in your position, in your career. You always be humble enough to accept constructive criticism.
That's good stuff. Tell me some of the lessons that you learned from managing real estate assets, primarily from high net worth individuals. Some of the lessons that you learned from them.
So speaking of that, so part of my career journey, I did spend 11 years in the private bank at Bank of America, and I was doing real estate investment management, and I was doing just that. And so, talking to them and managing their assets, that was an 11-year education right there. Just how they go about acquiring the real estate. And interestingly enough, they acquired real estate not necessarily for them to benefit. They acquired the real estate, to your point earlier, for future generations to benefit. So they may have bought something, in the early 60s, and it was worth nothing. And you fast forward it some 40 years later, now it's worth, it's 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, what they paid for. So their strategy was buy and hold, don't ever sell real estate. When you buy it, keep it. That's what I learned from them.
I think that's funny. That was Herman Russell's philosophy too. They bought it. They didn't sell anything. They kept it. Again, to your point, if you see it coming from zero to now worth millions,
exactly.
It's got to be exciting times. Yeah, I mean, you bring up a point. You've worked across private, public, nonprofit sectors. How has that range influenced your leadership style?
Very much so, because I saw it from different perspectives. My leadership style, man, I just try to be collaborative. And I'll tell you what I do, especially when I was the head of real estate at MARTA. When I had staff meetings every Monday, I never sat at the head of the table. I always sat with my team. So I consider myself a player coach, if you will.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be in there with them, and I didn't want them to feel like I'm sitting at one end of the table and they just around the table. So I'm more collaborative in that respect.
Oh man. So I mean, I forgot at MARTA, because you were there, running the place on the real estate side, from transit-oriented development projects. Where's your mindset around that right now? I'm just curious.
I think it can happen. It needs to happen. And I actually keep in touch with the folks at MARTA over there. I think they're probably they probably could be a little bit faster in getting projects done, but I think it needs to happen. And I think if it happens, it'd be a great thing for the city.
No, hands down. I mean, I think about MARTA here, and I think about DC, let alone New York. I mean, transit is not influenced about any wealth, if you will. Like, it's not associated with everybody use the train in New York or DC. It feels like it's a little different here in that aspect, regards to, because it hadn't gone out other ways. But I mean, hopefully, to our benefit, we'll see that happen in our lifetime.
Well, hopefully so, because I remember when I was over there, we were talking about the possibility of running transit from here to to Savannah.
Mm.
So I don't know if we'll see it, Dallas, but hopefully it'll happen.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, my friend. Let's take a break here. But next time on In the Black, Richard shares his definition of success.
Each of these words that I'm about to say to you has a meaning.
Okay.
It's the progressive realization of your own worthwhile, predetermined goal. That's what success is.
This has been In the Black with T. Dallas Smith. To find out how you can change the dominant narrative in the commercial real estate industry and challenge the status quo to improve the lives of others, go to tdsintheblack.com. In the Black with T. Dallas Smith is a production of Forbes Books.